Mega Man X8 is a very underrated game that I think kind of got screwed over by coming after two of the biggest stinkers in the X series. I mean, think about it. Coming after X6 and X7 back to back, there really was no way this game was really going to sell well or do good. Which is a shame because I think this game not only is vastly underrated, but I think the actual gameplay concepts that are in this game have a lot of potential for future X titles. And in this video, I kind of want to talk about this game and why I think it's so underrated. So let's get talking about Mega Man X8. So for starters, one of the biggest things I want to talk about is the control. This game controls like a dream. In fact, it probably controls almost as well as the SNES titles. Because there actually is some discrepancies between the SNES games, the PS1 games, and then X7 and X8. But I think X8 does a really good job at bringing us back to that nice, smooth 2D control style. There's no weird lag at the end of the dash like there was in the PS1 games, and everything is just so smooth and responsive. Especially because, you know, in this game there are multiple playable characters. Everyone controls smooth, all their abilities are intuitive, and really I think this game controls like a dream. In this game, there are three playable characters. There's Zero, X, and Axel. And of course, they all have the same fundamentals of Mega Man gameplay, but they all have their own unique gimmicks and spin on things that kind of make them all, you know, their own unique characters to play. They all play great. You know, Zero's double jump is pretty good. Axel's ability to shoot in multiple directions and hover is incredibly good for platforming and, you know, dealing with aerial enemies. Then of course, you got X, who, you know, he might not have it be as fancy as Zero and Axel, but he does have the charge shot, can do the most damage, and he has the armor upgrades. Every character is really fun to use, and you know, you actually do get a lot of use out of each of these characters because not only you know, do the stages take advantage of every character in their own unique ways, but we'll get to it later, but there's a lot of secrets in this game called the rare medals, and in order to collect every rare medal in the game, you will need to play through every stage with these characters at least once or twice. So you know, you do get a lot of mileage out of the multiple playable characters. Furthermore, I think the level design is very good for these characters, at least for the most part. And you know, I don't want to say that this game has always good level design, because trust me, there are some levels that really stand out. But I think for the most part, the good levels do take a pretty decent advantage of the characters and their movesets. Of course, as being a Mega Man game, this game does employ the standard 8 bosses, and I would say a majority of these levels are pretty good. However, I do think there are, I guess, 2 levels that really stick out, and those are the gimmick levels, and that's going to be the level with Avalanche Yeti and the level with the Gigavolt Mana War. Outside of those levels, I mean, you know, you got classic Mega Man X goodness. Of course, you know, being the most advanced entry, you know, the game does employ a lot more uniqueness in each level. You know, for example, in let's say I already mentioned Optic Sunflower, but in a level like, let's say, a Burn Roosters level, you do have a lot of like auto-scrolling sections and stuff like that. And Dark Mantis level, you have like cell sections and whatnot. But I mean, these gimmicks and these, like, you know, these unique stage attributes, I think, you know, only really enhance the playability of the levels, because I think they're all pretty fun, especially the stealth sections in you know, Dark Mantis level, because it's not actually like, the stealth is like, it's there, right? And you know, you are encouraged to, you know, sneak through and whatnot, but the only penalty you get for getting caught is just, you know, getting rushed by some enemies. So you know, it's not even like it's something that's pervasive or something that like that will get in the way. It's just, you know, a fun little objective for the levels. However, that this does not go to say that the 2 gimmick levels, you know, Gigavolt Mana Wars level and Avalanche Yeti's level, are fun, because you know, they do have issues and they're not very replayable. I think out of the 2 levels, Avalanche Yetis is probably the worst, because it's not only is it an auto scroller, but you're also in these vehicles, and there really is no way, at least not to my knowledge, to make this level go by any faster. And you know, as a one-time playthrough, maybe it wouldn't be so bad, but you know, unless you know a few tricks and exploits, you have to play this level at least twice to get the light capsule and the rare medal, and it's just kind of annoying. And I don't really like this level at all. This is probably the worst level in the game, I would say. And then Gigavolt Mana War can be pretty bad, but I think it's a little bit less egregious, because you can actually make the level go by faster, because you know, you're on these little you know, jet planes or jet bikes or whatever, and you gotta shoot Gigavolt Mana War until he, you know, starts the boss battle. So that one's not too bad, but I will say that these 2 levels are the low point of the not the series. Jeez, that'd be crazy. I mean, no, Mega Man X6 exists. No, but I will say that these levels are the low point of the game, because not only are they not, you know, they don't have that core Mega Man X appeal, but even though they are, even with that being said, you can still have a gimmick level and still have them be fun. You know, I think Jet Stingray's level in Mega Man X4 is pretty fun, and that's fully on a jet bike. So I mean, you know, these levels just aren't that well designed in my opinion. But besides that, everything was pretty good. Another level I really like is Gravity Antonian, probably my favorite track in the game, and also I just like the kind of the soft puzzles and anti-gravity mechanics they got going on throughout this level.
X, do you really have what it takes to stop us? You're merely tools of the humans, tools of the old world. You think you can stand up to those of us who have evolved this far? The world is changing. Therefore, it's only natural that evolution take its course.
The Mega Man X series has always had an issue with having really expansive and amazing lore with less than ideal storytelling or just stories in general, but I think Mega Man X8 is one of the rare X games that really does have a genuinely pretty good story. I mean, from beginning to finish, I'm very involved, very invested. The voice acting is good, the characterization is good, and I really loved all the stuff near the end with Sigma and Lumine and whatnot. I think this game has a really damn good story, and what I like the most about it is how they actually have a lot more cutscenes in between levels and whatnot, because I always found that, the Mega Man series in general, whether it be X or Classic, even Zero to some extent, is limited by the the 8 boss structure and whatnot, right? And I think Mega Man X8 does a pretty good job, and even though it still adheres to that structure, after almost every level, you're having cutscenes of the characters talking back and forth. And not only that, but every character has unique dialogue depending on who's going in to fight the boss. So you can have X, Zero, or Axel talk to the boss and get new dialogue. And so I think the changes made to the way the story is presented is really damn good, and I greatly enjoy it. The bosses are also another highlight of the game. I think there's not a single bad boss in this game to fight. They're all extremely fun, and I like how they all get their like super attacks, kind of like a pinch mode, where they'll start flashing like this like fiery aura and start being immune to damage and whatnot. It really does keep you on your toes. Of course, they do run into the same issue where once you have their weaknesses, they kind of follow, like they fall over, right? But that's just a Mega Man problem in general. But yeah, no, the bosses are really fun. My favorite boss in the game is probably Sigma. I think the Sigma boss in this game not only is my favorite boss in this game, but I think he might be my favorite Sigma boss in general. He's just really fun and really dynamic to fight. Lumine is cool too, just from the story perspective alone. Now, of course, while I do think this game is underrated and I think it is quite good, there are some very valid criticism that I and a lot of other people have. For example, like I said, the 2 levels, Avalanche Yeti and Gigavolt Manowar are not very good because they're not very replayable. But also, not only that, but there are instances of very strange level design and a lot of auto-scrolling sections, like in Burn Rooster, that aren't really all that fun to play through because just kind of Mega Man X is all about being fast, and auto-scrolling sections are pretty slow. So you got Burn Rooster, you got Jacob's elevator, and just levels like that are very slow paced and not as fun as a regular level would be. But I think probably one of the biggest things I see people complain about is the item collecting in this game, because this game, unlike other X games, has a greatly expanded set of items to collect. You have rare metals and all and currencies. There's like even a shop in this game. And while yes, I do think it can be annoying, I don't really think it's that bad, at least not to me, because the way I don't really 100% games all that often unless I'm like really in the mood to. I do like just running through games casually, and I think on a casual playthrough this game is quite fun. And of course, if you want to do 100%, then yeah, it might be a little annoying because you have to replay levels more than once. It's a lot of, I guess, backtracking. But I mean, the way I see it, if you are going to go for 100%, you should kind of already expect that, right? It is a Mega Man X game, and they do have instances of backtracking. Now, of course, in previous X titles, like especially games like X1, X2, and X4,
that's what I'm talking about! That's why he's the MVP! That's why he's the GOAT! The GOAT!
there are ways to basically beat the entire game with minimal backtracking and getting every item. And of course, something like that is not really possible in Mega Man X8. But like I said before, though, I think Mega Man X8 is a different take on the formula, and I do think it has potential. I think having a shop and having currency is pretty good as well, because not only that, in order to get more currency, there actually is like a combo system in this game, kind of like Devil May Cry, like a rating system where the more hits you get a better rank, which gives you more points and stuff like that and more currency. And I think just all this can be applied to a potential X9 or whatever they want to call it. But yeah, just to kind of get back on track, I do see why people don't like the item collecting in this game. But for me personally, I think it's inoffensive. You don't really have to go for 100%, and if you do, you can do it once and never do it again. So to me, I never really saw it as that big of an issue. But honestly, besides the sometimes odd level design and a pretty arduous and annoying item collecting run, I think this game for the most part is really solid. Like, I don't like to do numbered scores, but if I were to give it a score, I think this game's like I saw like 7.5 and maybe even an 8 on a good day. I think this game is pretty damn fun, and I think a lot of people should try it out. And I know, like I said, it is unfortunately associated with the latter half of the X series, because the X series is as a franchise is mainly known for being good for the first 4 games, and then the last 4 games not being so good. But me personally, I think X8 and X5 are both really good, and I mean, Yeah, that's really about it. There's some other stuff I can mention as well. There's some navigator. They added, kind of redone the navigator system. So instead of just being Alia, you have Alia, Palette, and Layer, who all do different things. Layer helps you with bosses, Palette helps you with stages, and Alia helps you just in general. And I think that's also pretty cool as well. I also like the designs; they're pretty good. But I mean, besides that, there really is nothing else for me to say. You know, it is your usual Mega Man X game, but you know, with a different take on it. You know, with that being said, hope you guys did enjoy the video, and hope you guys do, you know, think about getting this game another try, because I do think Mega Man X8 is a game that is deserving of a second chance. Like I said, I want this game to have its I want this game to have its Sonic Unleashed effect, where it comes out, people think it's middling or bad, and then, you know, as time goes on, more people have an appreciation for it. Because yes, it is a flawed game, but I still think it's pretty damn fun. But with that being said, that's all I got for now. Follow the socials, gonna be a link in the description. And yeah, I mean, hopefully you guys like this new style of content I'm making. I'm kind of aiming for a more conversational type piece. I'm basically going off the cuff here, as you can tell by my constant stammerings and and ums. But you know, hopefully throughout over time, I get a little bit better at it, and the videos, you know, still flow very smoothly. But you know, without any further ado, I'll see you guys in the next one. Have a good day.